Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Resident Evil 0. In the last part, we explored a lot of the upper floors here in the training facility and fought ourselves a giant millipede in the process. And now we're gonna take ourselves back down to the lower floors and finally explore around here now that we have the flame key that we got after that boss fight. Additionally, you're also gonna want to have the 2 microfilms in at least one of your characters' inventories, as we're gonna need to use them coming up somewhere on this floor. This is a good example of why I like using the main hall as a de facto item box in the lieu of an actual one. As, at least for like the first 2/3 of the game after you reach this point, there's basically no point in the training facility that's too far from here. I still wish the game had an item box, even if it was like exclusive to like easy mode. Or even, I think what could have been interesting is if the game experimented with item boxes in a way that was radically different. Like, okay, the first floor on the west and the second floor on the east have like a red item box. Second floor west, first floor east have a blue item box, and then some other area maybe has 2 green item boxes split between it. And items could only be shared between item boxes of the same color. And I think what could be potentially interesting about that is that would give you more incentive to split the characters up more regularly, because you could have Rebecca on the first floor west doing something, and Billy on the second floor east doing something, and they could share items and you wouldn't have to worry about trekking all the way. But, oh well, I still respect them trying to be authentic to the original Sweet Home with this, showing the origins of the series in a way, but it just feels clunky in a way. This bathroom, by the way, is, I think, one of the only completely optional rooms, no matter what, in the training facility. There's a couple of items in here for ammo, but there's never a key item in here. In fact, if anything, technically, if you're trying to avoid as many enemies as possible, you never want to come in here, because the moment you try to leave, a leech zombie spawns in, but you can just completely walk past it and ignore it. I know I haven't really talked about leech zombies besides just saying they're dangerous, but we're going to actively start encountering them a little more often now that we're exploring the first floor. Things to note about them: they have pretty long range with their swipe attacks. They can also pull you towards them, and they have a big grab attack that can do some good damage. And when you kill them, they explode. That explosion does damage you. But I think they don't explode particularly if you use fire on them. They are distinctly weak to fire. You should save your Molotovs largely for leech zombies if you can. And thankfully, they spawn in set locations, so if you know where they're gonna be, you can avoid them pretty easily by doing that. It's a microfilm projector. If you had some microfilm, you could view its contents on the screen. Well, thankfully, there's 2 slots, and we have 2 microfilm. So let's get these out of our inventory and see what they can reveal to us as soon as the menu stops getting a little finicky. You can view both halves of the information separately if you wanted to, but in order to progress, we need to insert both. Interesting little array of numbers and letters. There's something written on top of the picture of the seats. And if you look closely, that's a room you should recognize. That is the room in the back of the first floor, from the main hall at least. But also doing that gets us the usual staple, a good old MO disc. As well as a microfilm image resulting from overlaying microfilms A and B. Numbers appear on the seats in the conference room. That's just so you can have that to reference directly when we go back there, because now there's a puzzle awaiting there for us. I didn't need to fight off that zombie, but I think I dedicated to it because Rebecca had started firing ammo and I wanted this ammo. Now, something I should note about leech zombies as well. When you kill them, they don't respawn, but after you kill them and return to the room, that room will now be infested with leeches. So the thing you might want to weigh in some cases is if it's worth killing them now versus having to deal with the leeches later. Usually I'd say it's completely fine, but also most of the time when I'm killing a leech zombie, I'm basically not returning to that room ever. Also, speaking of which, leech zombie right there now. You just walk right past it. Leech zombies having their own musical motif makes it pretty easy to figure out when one has spawned in, and that you should probably keep your distance. Also, just in case some diehards are curious about why I'm saying one thing and not another, leech zombies is not their official name, but their official name contains notable story spoilers, so I'm avoiding saying that until it becomes relevant. Plus, I'd wager most people when they played this game without the information what that thing was called, probably just called them leech or slug zombies anyway, so, I am leaving behind my Molotovs for now, but that's because we're not going to encounter another one of them for a little bit. So let's head back here to the conference room and take care of the puzzle that's here now that we have that MO disc. In order to use it, we have to come up here to the podium, which you could have investigated earlier, and, well, let's actually showcase what happens if you do just that. Evac drill path locked. System disk required to activate release system, which thankfully that MO disk is one such thing. As soon as the game recognizes I'm in the proper spot. That is one thing I don't like about basically every classic styled Resi. There's always those moments when you're just like looking one pixel the wrong direction and it doesn't recognize it. Reading system. Access complete. Release system activated. Please enter the passcode. Passcode 47. So, the passcode you get here is randomized. There's no input device nearby. But the password's always 2 characters long and selects from the numbers 0 through 9 and letters A through F, like on this image. So, you just need to press the consoles on the 2 desks in question and you'll be good. You do need to separate your characters to do this though, because when you press a button, there's a timer before it deactivates. So, it's sort of an equivalent to that moment in Final Fantasy VII where you need to press the buttons in sync. That was also in Mega Man X Command Mission. If you know the puzzle type, you know the puzzle type. Also, because if memory serves, I brought it up earlier in the LP. I have figured out which files I've missed in the game, and I'll talk about them when we're near the rooms in question that I missed them in. One of them is because I actually didn't enter the room at all during the LP, which that's because of some other choices I made in playing to begin with. So that unlocked every set of doors that had knight swords blocking the way. There are 3 of them as we just saw, but we've only seen one of those on screen in the LP so far, and that's in the room we fought the millipede last time. The other one's in the main hall, and the other one's in the room we were just in. But first we want to come this way, and then immediately leave because I realize I'm forgetting something along the way. I actually jump cut coming up here because this is probably my biggest memory blip in the entire LP. We're first going to go back to the room the millipede was in and check out the door over there, which honestly I would recommend waiting on, because the reason I'm going over there at this point is just because I wanted to get the handgun bullets that are in there. So unless you're super low on ammo, it's probably not worth the time to take the trip until you need to go over there anyway. On top of that, you might want to send just one character to do this, instead of me who's taking both, because now that we've beaten the boss and progressed a little further past it, there are now I think 3 or 4 plague crawlers on the upper section of this room. They'll never come down the stairs to this little mini hallway that leads to the main hall in the room where we got the grenade launcher, but worth noting all the same. You could also, I guess, technically separate the 2 characters down this staircase, since the plague crawlers will never come down there. And this is what I was talking about earlier in the LP, where this is a case where the AI following behind you is good at following you, but it follows behind at such a lagged speed that there are times that enemies can hit them. That room's probably going to be the biggest case of that unless you take care of the plague crawlers, which I would just recommend saving the handgun and shotgun ammo for, honestly. I can tell you exactly what caused this memory blip that's making me do this backtrack in the upcoming rare pure jump cut in the LP. I got a step ahead of myself. My usual order of operations in this game is get the microfilm image, take care of something else, then go do the puzzle with the MO disc. But I forgot about that extra step in recording, so I took a few moments and just kind of wandered about in a room just going, wait, something's missing. What's missing? Our actual destination right now that I got ahead of myself on is on the first floor's east side. And I'm gonna jump cut towards me, realizing this about 3 minutes after this, right about now. We covered the first floor west wing pretty much in entirety, but over here there's a full world waiting to be explored. You might want to bring a singular Molotov into this room in specific, because this room coming up here is the dining room, and there's a whole bunch of zombies in here. And a singular Molotov will probably be enough to get fire damage on a lot of them if they group up, and that way you can take care of them a little more efficiently, but your handgun bullets, if you have enough, are probably going to be fine. You might even want to leave, like, the one that's, like, towards the center of the screen shambling towards us alone, because they probably will be slow enough that you can just outpace them. Order of operations-wise might even be more efficient to come over here before you go take the microfilms over to the projector, because that way you can actually remove another item from your inventory to save space on for anything else in that direction, like getting the Molotovs in the bathroom in the case you want to, or anything like that. Because our actual goal isn't the door that was in the distance a second ago. There is things you can get over there, but I'm saving that for later. Our main goal is this door right here, which is the other use of the fire key that we also used to get into the office last time. Mind you, it is kind of funny that I'm like, hey, come over here earlier to get a inventory space freer sooner, before doing the other thing we've already done this part. On easy mode, that doesn't exactly apply, because on easy mode, this room has an extra item in a red herb for you. In that regard, it is kind of funny how easy mode is easier in terms of combat and all that jazz, but it has more inventory management because of the extra items they place all over the place. Which doesn't seem like it'd be that annoying in the other Resident Evils, but because of the lack of item boxes, it genuinely does make, in some regards, managing what you might want to have with you a little harder. I think the big thing that hurts that as well is that both characters in this game have 6 inventory slots, and there is no way to expand that. Even if it was just like one character of your choice could get an extra 2 inventory spaces, that could go a long way for this, considering that was a mechanic you could do in Resi 1, 2, 3, in fact 3 was part of the story and all that. 4 it was a part of it as well. But at the same time, technically you do always have 12 inventory slots with you if you have both characters. It's just that you need their own weapon and healing items, potentially. That could be a potential issue there. Also, a moment ago, we found some lighter fluid, which we combined with Billy's lighter, because he's had that lighter the entire game, but it had no fuel in it. That's the item we needed in order to actually progress upwards back towards the conference room in the direction I was heading. Whoops. Again, it's just me getting ahead of myself a step in my memory for the order of operations, which, hey, that happens here and again. Frankly, if I cared more about this game, I probably would have redone an entire recording session and a half there to do that properly, but it's Resident Evil 0, so I don't exactly care. Not to say I think the game's bad. I think it has some questionable choices in it, don't get me wrong, but I can easily see why this is some people's favorite classic-styled Resi, as it is a really unique experience among those. It's just that the decisions it makes run completely counter to what I usually find enjoyable in the classic Resident Evils. If that makes sense. Like, I brought up the potentially, probably an April Fool's prank that someone made with a Resident Evil 1 remaster, back in, like, what was that, part 2? I really think Resi 0 could do well with a remake, and you could even actually make a co-op. I think they could do some interesting stuff with like the Resi 2, 3, and 4 remake mechanics with co-op with this game. Over in this room where we sent Rebecca up to deal with our first plague crawlers and loop back around to the hall we fought the millipede in. This door's locked, this candle's burnt out, we just put fuel into our lighter, do the math. Imagining a remake for this game is a little weird though in terms of how they would handle some things. Like the millipede boss fight would probably be done a little differently so that both players, in the case it's co-op, could do stuff. Like maybe one person's on one end and another person's on the other, and they have different things they can do to help kill the thing a little faster. Though I'll tell you what, there's one particular enemy variety that camera style would be a lot easier to deal with, but I'll talk about them when they show up. Oh, hi, zombies! I've always found that little piano cue in this room kind of funny. I can't quite parse why. I could potentially recommend splitting up in the previous room so maybe you can get around and killing maybe one of these zombies and just worm your way around the other, but something to note is if you do that, you're gonna need at least 2 inventory slots or 1 inventory slot open in the case it's the character that has the grenade launcher, because if the grenade launcher's empty, you might just be able to put these grenade launcher rounds we're about to pick up directly into it, and then still have a spare inventory slot. So our actual plot destination in here is up here on this little secondary section, because we got some more books and some little pillars that have little cubbies in them for some reason, as well as a very out-of-place bookshelf that you can push this way, and behind it lies our plot item. As soon as I can pick it up, because again, it's one of those where the position to pick it up is kind of precise. This is the Book of Good. What anything with the subtitle of Good is doing in an Umbrella facility is beyond me, but there might be a good reason for that. If we examine it, an elegantly bound book entitled Book of Good, it seems unusually heavy for a book of its thickness. The book is hollowed out. There is no good here. But there is some angel wings, which if you think back to items we've collected thus far, the texturing and color of that might look a little familiar. Let's head back to the main hall to address that. From my memory, now we're completely done in this particular hallway with the office and this library section. Now we never need to come back here if you left a zombie alive. Unless I'm once again completely forgetting about something and disprove myself in a part or two going, oh, I forgot about X! Can you tell I've played this less than other Resident Evils in the classic style? I don't think I'm forgetting anything, but there's a chance. If you think back to the white statue we placed on the scales a few parts ago, this is where it will have saved you a little bit of time to have just placed it on the ground near the scales, because either you can just pick it up now and combine it, or put it in your inventory and combine it from wherever it was instead of having to take it off the scales, which has its own separate cutscene. It's not a very big time save, but it's a little bit of tedium saving that I could recommend doing. Kinda wish you could just combine it in front of it anyway, but I get why. Oh, god damn it, my inventory's full. Alright, I guess let's drop the shotgun, which they do, thankfully, in cases like this, place off to the side slightly so you don't try to pick it up first. Pick up the statue, combine it, and then that statue will be complete and we can just put it back onto the scales. And thus, the side of good will be done, and we now just need to figure out what to fill out on the other side of the scales in order to finish off the puzzle that's going on around here. I'd say the statues here are probably this game's equivalent, key hunt-wise, to the emblems to get to the dorms in the back of the Spencer Mansion in Resi 1 and its remake. At least in terms of the how far we'll be through the game when we finish it kind of deal. It's your first large goal that you can find pretty quickly once you're actually exploring the main area. It just takes a little longer to get to here in Resi 0 due to the existence of the Ecliptic Express. So now that we've done that, our next destination is back here at the dining room, and we're going to use the door that's in the distance this time to finally head and check out what's over this way. I wanted to take care of the entirety of the Statue of Good stuff before I went over here, just so I had one goal completely done. This next hallway has two pathways you can go down, towards the right and towards the left. The left is the way in the distance. If you go that way, there's a bit of a pathway, but it culminates in a boiler that's letting out steam that you can't get past, so we can't go that way yet. Thus, this room is our actual next destination, and we got some zombies. And I'm gonna do the usual thing. If you take a shotgun and aim upwards with a zombie, you're likely to blow their head off completely, killing them instantly. I don't think it's technically guaranteed as long as you're not super close range, but it's reliable enough that it's the main way you should probably use a shotgun against normal zombies. And if you're good enough, I think you can get multiple zombies with that at once. But I'm not refilling my hunting gun at this point, and that might seem a little confusing. There's a reason for it. Meet the reason for it. That there is a standard shotgun, which I am leaving the hunting gun behind to take instead. The hunting gun is stronger, but the shotgun holds more ammo. It holds, I think, 7 shells versus the hunting gun's 2. And for both standard mobs and boss fights alike, I prefer the higher capacity that's weaker to the lower capacity that's stronger, because I'm less likely to get myself accidentally into a position where I'm doing an in-world reload rather than an in-menu reload for a stronger weapon that could potentially get me killed. Here, though, we got a black statue. I think you can tell where this is going to go, so we're going to just speed our way over there and put that there. Like the Statue of Good, though, it's not a complete statue. You may have noticed it only has one wing, so we need to find its second piece before we're completely done with this key hunt. It's not too far away, technically, but we do have to do some steps to get it first. Admittedly, it probably would have been better for me, once again, to just leave the black statue either near the scales or just in the main hall and go back the way we came. In order to finish our destinations over there, but oh well, because you may have noticed in the room where we got the black statue, there was a ladder. That is our next destination after I put this here. I am obviously going more out of my way to return to the main hall to get things done and reorganize my inventory more often than usual in other games, so the pacing can be a little back and forth here in Zero due to that, although a bit of an accidental, oh, that kind of lined up way. The extra backtracking I do to get stuff done, like placing things here instead of in a place that would be technically more convenient for where we need to take it, actually makes the game about as long as some of my other Resi LPs. Because Resident Evil 0, I think even played perfectly, is one of the shorter classic-styled Resis. And I imagine part of that is the fact the game originally started development on the N64 and what the scale for the project was at that point. On top of the fact, designing a game with 2 controllable characters at once probably meant they wanted to limit the scope a little bit so that things didn't get a little too carried away. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 6, we're going to head up that ladder in the room we got the shotgun and see what awaits us up there. See you guys then.